So for most of my life, I've considered myself to be liberal. I voted for Obama twice, and even voted for Clinton in 2016. But since then, I've let go of most of those liberal ideas I used to cling to. My journey away from the left started with Milo Yiannopoulos of all people, and it was right after Trump was elected. Everyone kept telling me that Milo was evil. I knew nothing about him, except that I had heard he was this horrible character, but nobody ever really went into detail as to why he was so awful. I remember arguing with some of his supporters on Facebook, and not really knowing what I was talking about. Then one day I caught a little bit of Milo on the Joe Rogan podcast, but I had to leave for work about 20 minutes into the interview. It was strange because he seemed to be a very intelligent guy, who was making the case for certain things I'd never heard before. He talked about feminism and the suffering of men and boys. So before I went back to finish the interview, I was chatting online with a liberal friend of mine who I used to discuss politics with, one who I generally agreed with on most things. We regularly talked about whatever topic happened to be in the news that day. When I told her I was watching an interview with Milo, and it seemed like things I had been told about him weren't actually true, she gave me a quick be right back, and came back to tell me not to listen to him. Almost as if she had to go find out who he was before she could say anything further. And I told her that it doesn't matter what other people say. If he's full of bad ideas, I'm an adult and I can handle it. I went on to say that I can't see justifying my own views without knowing the other side of the story. Not to mention listening to him is not an endorsement. I have enough faith in myself to say that if something is said by anyone that is truly evil and wrong, I'll be able to recognize it and discard the bad ideas while holding on to the good ones. This did not sit well with her, and I was truly surprised. She started telling me that certain types of speech should be made illegal, that kids should be sheltered from people like Milo, and that she didn't have to listen to anything he said to know that he is wrong, evil, and promotes things like rape, misogyny, and hate. She had these huge negative opinions, yet she never once actually listened to him. She was just parroting other liberals' opinions. She accused me of being a rape apologist and a rape sympathizer simply for the crime of hearing him out. She said that because I've never been a woman and raped, I just didn't care enough not to listen. My pursuit of knowledge to her was promoting rape culture. Just hearing what someone has to say implicates me in rape? And this was coming from someone around the same age as me. I have a hard time understanding how she comes to these conclusions. Free speech was pounded into my head as a child, and it was always from a liberal point of view. So all of a sudden conservative values are no longer just bad ideas, worthy of debate? They should be outlawed? Is that where liberals want to go once they've had 8 years of institutional power and then lose it all in one election? This effectively makes the opposition a crime. I've watched as the left has gone full throttle in this direction, and I cannot support that. We had a long debate after this about free speech. She assumes that if anyone hears a bad idea, they'll immediately absorb those ideas and the streets will be filled with Nazis trying to kill minorities. In hindsight, this idea only serves to justify Clinton's loss in 2016. If all of a sudden half the country has become Nazis, the Democrats don't have to look in the mirror to figure out how to appeal to middle America. But we know where this ultimately leads. It leads to preemptively attacking conservatives while screaming that they're Nazis and fascists, screaming that they're about to attack a person of color, or just equating their right to free speech itself as violence and using that as justification for their violence. And it's already happening right now. I haven't spoken to her since that moment. She tried to change the subject and talk about something we agreed on, but you don't come back to normalcy after someone tells you that your natural desire for discourse perpetuates rape, and that you effectively think rape is okay because you heard someone speak. My views on many things have changed, but my view that free speech is paramount to everything else still stands. Without it, the truly dangerous ideas are forced underground where we'll have no idea who they are or what they're up to. In an age where the internet makes us more connected than ever, making speech illegal is especially dangerous. The people who actually harbor bad ideas won't just give them up because they're illegal. It will create a black market of ideas where anything goes and we won't even know that it exists. After watching the Milo interview, I went on to watch hours upon hours of content from people they'd erroneously labeled as fascist or racist. only to find out that most of it is just middle-of-the-road conservative ideas. It's not so much that I changed my opinions. I did stop watching a lot of left-leaning content, but mostly I just changed the way I looked at things and expanded the types of media I consume to include everything. The red pill analogy is apt, and I understand why they use this to describe the change. It is truly a profound kind of realization. It's as if my entire life I was looking through everything with 3D glasses on, but the red color lens was knocked out. And then finally I put that lens in, and I could see the texture of everything I thought was just two-dimensional. I started hearing arguments that I never knew existed because I was fed nothing but straw men and mischaracterizations of the opposition from other liberals, so I was never able to weigh out both sides of any argument. I believed people when they told me what was true, because why would they lie to me? I was very naive. It turns out it was mostly lies. The data and science they say they love so much actually does not support most of the leftist narratives. For example, BLM claims that police are hunting black men in what they characterize as a genocide, while the statistics tell a very different story. Or they'll claim that there's a rape culture on campus, when the study used to come up with that conclusion has been debunked, and would put the rate of rape on campus to be similar to that of the Congo, which is just preposterous. And I could go on and on with examples. Trump's election brought out the absolute worst in the left, and exposed them for who they really are. If he hadn't been elected, I'd have never seen these things. The left would have never lost their shit, and I'd have never been exposed to the insanity. Which is why after voting Democrat for nearly 20 years, I will be voting Trump next month. He's not 100% what I'd like to see in a president, but I now believe he is the best guy for the job. The left has become truly dangerous, and I'm very worried about allowing them to have power at this point. I'm not on board with burning down communities. I'm not on board with rioting and looting. I'm not on board with forcing people to give the black power fist. I'm not on board with attacking people for no reason. I'm not on board with defunding police. And most importantly, I'm not just going to go along with an agenda that convinces people that America is evil and irredeemable. America has never been perfect, but our system allows us to push towards perfection. It's done more good than any other system in the history of the world, and I will not stand silent while that system is threatened by ideologues. That's why I walked away.